Hear me? I can't.
Hello, that was just a surprise. I was thinking, my Dronetek has changed so much. My days.
What's happening?
Hey, everybody.
What did having a boy
going?
child do to you? No offense to the chap who's there, obviously.
Yes. Hey, we're live, just so y'all know. So, everybody, hello, welcome to another completely just completely messed up live stream, as mine usually is. So, welcome. It's very discombobulated. It's how I like it. I brought on, as I promised you all, Hayden Hewitt of liveleak.com, and more recently, Trigger Warning TV. And so, yes, welcome,
Hi.
sir.
Thank you. We finally managed to make it happen.
Yes. And I also, as you saw, Robert is also here, and SJG will probably be showing up later. But right now, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Hayden Hewitt. How you doing, man? Oh, I should probably put on my headphones here. Hey, I can hear you now.
Yeah, you do that. Oh, that's good. I'm doing well, mate. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, man. Great. I'm glad that I finally got to get you on here.
Yeah, we've just missed each other a lot, haven't we?
Yeah.
And that one night we tried when I didn't know I was on.
Yeah.
And I rushed home and it just didn't work.
Right, and then I
just
promised
didn't
to have you on, and then I, at the last minute, canceled the whole thing, so.
I know you went, I mean, how selfish to have a child.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you got to get your priorities sorted, dude. You got to get your shit together. You can't be going having kids when you got guests to come on YouTube.
Yeah, and he is very demanding. I'll tell you that. And it's funny, you know, I knew I had a kid coming, and I knew it's going to be another kid, but you don't really realize how hard adding another kid to the mix is. I mean, it completely changes the whole thing.
That's why we stopped at one.
Yeah.
I had one, and I went, that'll do. I'm happy. I'm very happy with what I've got. It's got all these fingers and toes. That'll do. Call it quits, because what if I get one that's like me?
Right. Well,
no.
I don't know if you're going to be able to avoid that, really, but...
We're not doing too well so far, if I'm honest. But
And hey, is that Robert? Are you here? Are you like officially on?
Yeah, I'm driving, but I'm listening. I probably won't talk as much as normal with people probably like.
Right. Well, are you heading home or what are you doing there? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just had traffic in Pennsylvania is crazy at this time of year. We got traffic holdups everywhere. So okay.
Well, Hayden, let's get right into it because we were talking here a little bit before, this started live, and hey, Robert, can you by any chance like turn down your mic or something?
Yes. In fact, let me head out for a little while.
All right, yeah, come back, yeah.
Yep.
So, sorry, hey, this is what you have to expect when you're here.
Dude, this is fine by me, mate. This is all good. I'm just glad we can get on your show.
Right. So what I've been wanting, honestly, is, and I've been trying to get some sort of liberal or I don't know, there's another word for it, maybe like classic liberal or something like that.
Don't you dare. I've told you about that. There's no such thing as a classic liberal. That's bullshit.
Right.
That's libertarians that don't want to be associated with being a libertarian.
Right.
It's a nonsense thing. I am liberal. That doesn't mean leftist.
Right.
But I am liberal. I believe in free speech. I believe in freedom of association and things like that. Those are liberal concepts.
I agree.
So I am definitely liberal.
Right. And you know what? That is how I used to identify, if you want to say. I hate even saying that, but I used to consider myself a liberal. But I'm with you. I think it's more that the liberals or the left has moved, far to the left. I'm still where I'm at.
No, it's definitely for sure. None of us have moved, but we find ourselves more towards the center these days. I think one of the big problems is this massive disconnect and lack of self-awareness on a lot of people. We all accept that the far right, the real far right, do tend to be racist, xenophobic, bigoted. We take that for granted. Mm-hmm. The far left can't seem to grasp the concept that they're authoritarian fascists.
Right.
And they can't quite grasp it because no one wants to be the bad guy. At least the far right know what they are. They will tell you, I hate Jews, I hate black people, I hate this, I don't care. Being born white is an honor and a privilege and all that bullshit. Right. People on the far left are going, no, we're just doing it for the right reasons.
Right. It's a rationalization. They're really.
We just want to make the world a better place by making you all shut up.
Right.
But nothing's ever enough for them because obviously they're authoritarian fascists. And there's no two ways around it. And they'll scream all day that horseshoe theory doesn't exist, but it does. They are kissing cousins with, the braces and white T-shirt wearing people with haircuts like mine over on the other side. They're kissing cousins.
Absolutely. That's what I've said for years. And honestly, I think it just comes down to, and I don't know what it's like over there. My focus is the media. I do blame the media, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but the left, and there's been studies on this, they rarely ever use the term left wing or even liberal. Far left is not in the vernacular of the media. They don't use that word. And so left wingers can just keep going as extreme as they want to, and they always have it in their brains that, I'm the good guy. I can't be a racist.
Oh yeah, I'm the Jedi to your Sith. Right. As you know, I'm often put in both camps by people because I tend to walk down the middle. It's not because I'm a fence sitter. It's just I believe most people naturally exist on a spectrum of politics. People aren't naturally just a conservative and Republican, and my whole life is defined by those rules. People tend to exist on a spectrum. There's certain things that are more forgiving, more allowing, more conservative, more liberal. What we're encouraged to do now, and it's not even just the media, I think social media has played a massive part in this over the last 10 years with the explosion of Facebook and Twitter and keeping people in little, life-affirming bubbles so they consume more advertising.
Right.
Is that people are starting to define themselves by a stereotype and that they attack anything outside of that. So we're seeing people actually unnaturally being forced to the left and to the right because they want to be affirmed, and there's no middle ground anymore. I mean, most libertarians or people that identify as libertarian online, many of the ones I speak to, I would have said are more conservative in their outlook. Mm-hmm. But they've defined themselves this narrow little definition of a person, and nothing else is allowed in. It must be attacked. People on the left must attack anything conservative as we're as we're seeing online massively now.
Right.
There's a purge of conservatives that I would never identify as a conservative in a million years, but it horrifies me.
Me neither.
That we're excluding people from the discussion.
Right. Right. Here's the thing is that if you say certain things, you are a conservative. I find myself often arguing from the conservative point of view only because, it's like it's like there's no way around it. And like what you were saying earlier, there's a great example of what you're talking about where you can't be in the middle. If you're slightly to the right, well, if you agree with anything this person says, you're a Nazi. And we're kind of seeing that. Yeah. Like this whole thing with that Trump called Nazis good people and white supremacists good people. I've talked a lot about that. What they did straight up was just omit a bunch of that press conference in the mainstream.
Context is irrelevant, dude. Right. Don't you know?
Right.
Look at what's happening to Sargon. It's the same thing.
Right. But what they did is when they got called on that is they've changed the goalpost. They moved the goalpost and changed the argument. Now their current argument is that anybody who was at that location, who was there for any reason, you are a de facto Nazi because you should have heard these people chanting, "Jews won't replace us,"
Yeah, and if you just saw them do it, you're one of them.
Right.
Because if you look through trigger warning, for example, it's kind of funny. We're always called, especially for the Live Leak audience and less so the YouTube audience, liberal, terribly liberal and all this sort of thing. But if you look, we're actually mostly arguing conservative points about the likes of Sargon and Tommy Robinson and liberal viewpoints of let them speak.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had when we were still doing the Live Leak show, I had Tommy Robinson on.
You did, really?
And yeah. And
that's awesome.
It was about 2 years ago, Graham. 2.5 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Did not know.
Sorry, that's Graham over there. Graham, just wave towards the Dronetek
what's
people.
up, buddy?
There you go. Get yourself on.
Yes.
There he is.
What's up, man? The lovable face of trigger warning.
The other. What do you mean the lovable face of trigger warning? This is the lovable face.
Yeah.
Oh man, don't do me like that.
Did you see the picture I used of you in the thumbnail? It's great.
Yes, I did. Are you coming on our show later on, by the way?
I can if you want.
Yeah, of course you should. We're going to do a thing on racism. You being a conservative American,
right.
Obviously massive racist.
I do have a lot.
You'll get on very well with Graham.
Yeah.
Graham's a terrible racist. And he rides a bicycle, and you know what that means. What were we talking about?
Well, you derailed yourself again by just calling me a
perfectly
pedophile.
accept. I didn't even call you a paedophile.
I know that's what you're saying, though.
Yeah, but they didn't. They don't know you now. But now they know out your own mouth. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
By the way, look what we found in the office.
Oh yes. Is that the dog toy that squeaks? Yeah.
The only other prop we have, I can't use on your show. It's very rude.
Is it?
Well, yeah, we found this. One of the guys has a puppy that he brings in. And I found that on the floor, so that's now one of ours.
That's actually kind of hilarious. I like that.
A little squeaky Trump. It says New York loves me, and he's got a badge that says Donald, and that says Great Wall Building for Idiots. So I'm guessing there's a political slant to our squeaky Donald.
Hey, I know that you're not a big Trump guy. Like, what is your feeling on what's your feeling on the wall and all that stuff?
Well, the thing, just put it in perspective for your viewers and that. As an individual, as a person, as a businessman, I find Trump reprehensible. I think he's terrible, awful human being. However, as the president of the United States of America, I can't want him to fail because I don't want America to fail, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So if he does fail through his own misdeeds, tough. But I don't wish it. I don't think he posts enough bullshit on Twitter to catch him out. I mean, 1,000 times over. But that doesn't mean I want him necessarily to fail. For the wall, I do think you're being sold a bit of a pup. Because when we look at how many dangerous people truly come into America, that's not MS-13 is another matter. But terrorists, which a lot of people are sold on, the MS-13 thing's been bubbling for a while. But so we'll keep terrorists out, but most of them come in via airports. Would the wall even work? I don't know, but it might make some people feel a lot better.
Well, here, and I see where you're coming from on that, but here's the thing: like, we have huge gaps of our border that are completely open. Okay, and those need to be the gaps on that need to be closed. I think having a wall will do a couple things. One, it's going to put out the message that if you come here in swarms, it's not going to be easy to get in. I mean, it's already not easy, but it's going to be even harder. And, you know, two, it will make it harder for people to get in, and it will funnel people into other avenues that more focus can be. They can put more focus on those areas now that might be
possibly. I'm not ideologically objecting to a wall.
Yeah.
You know, hard borders are nothing new. I mean, was it Bernie Sanders recently that said we can't just have unlimited immigration?
Right, which is kind of crazy.
Even he said it.
Yeah.
But everyone came out and said he was a Nazi now, which tickled me so beautifully. But, you know, the idea of a wall doesn't bother me. I think a lot of the rhetoric around it bothers me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, we're going to build a wall and make those Mexican bastards pay for it. Why not just sell it as a... But I realize he has to talk in a manner that some people who want him to speak like that. So I guess that's how he appeals to his base.
Trump is bombastic in everything he does and says. He's been like that forever.
Yeah,
that's why he was on the WWF and shit.
But I do understand why people voted for him, and not just because of that manner. I mean, we were talking about this on our show when someone said to me, everyone that voted for Trump was a Nazi. I said, but there's vast swathes of America, especially in the middle, that have felt ignored for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And they knew with Hillary that would continue.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
They needed a change. He was a change.
That is it. I mean, that's mostly...
You know, and... Yeah, but people ignore this, what's right in front of them to focus on their selling points that they get from the media, which the media only provide because they know that's what you want to be fed.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
For example, you might complain more about CNN than Fox. And you do. I watch you. Absolutely. I enjoy reading you on Twitter immensely. But Fox are in no way morally superior to CNN. They've got Tucker, for pity's sake.
Right.
Tucker's
awesome. You can't cut the talk. You can't cut the talk.
What? Oh, yes, I can. He's dreadful. He's like, he's literally got a Republican hand up his rear. But that's fine. You know, that's what Fox is. Fox is a channel that's designed to appeal to conservatives and Republicans.
Yeah.
I get it. CNN is designed to appeal... liberals or people on the left. I get that. That's what they are. And if they want to stay in business, they have to provide what their people want. Alex Jones discovered it's a great way of boosting your figures. Hitch yourself up to a populist.
Absolutely.
Of course, for Alex, it's not maybe worked out. He got big enough to be noticed by everybody, but not big enough to be untouchable.
Right, yeah.
So, you know...
That was never going to happen. I mean, selling all these weird pills and shit and talking about, you know, having his wild outbursts, which, you know, I'm not a huge Alex Jones. I didn't watch anything he put out, really. I saw the occasional video where he was screaming and going crazy, which I found hilarious. I think Alex Jones was fucking hilarious. Sorry, Cindy.
I'm a huge fan, but not for the same reason some of his real fans are.
Right, yeah.
I find it purely entertaining. It's like Tucker. I've put out my views on Tucker. I wouldn't want him taken off the air for it. It's what he does, and I find a lot of it quite amusing because he whines. People get so upset by him, and it makes me laugh. Your responses to CNN, whether factual or just now, it makes me laugh. Right, it just makes me laugh because it's like raging against the machine. Go for it, son. Right. Go for it. Yeah. I love a bit of that, and that's what the media actually feeds us what we want.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And a lot of people blame them. But without us giving them that ammunition, that desire. But now they've got Twitter. And this is beautiful. They can find one swivel-eyed lunatic who decides that shopping carts are sexist. and turn... No, this happened in the UK.
Yeah.
No word of a lie. Because on our shop, we call them shopping trolleys because we speak English. On the shopping... Not like you colonial folks. You'll catch up, though. You're only young. On the shopping trolleys, the picture is of a woman and a child. One woman on Twitter, dare say, a lady that's never made many sandwiches and has very hairy armpits, but who am I to judge? Sorry, that wasn't very leftist of me, was it? Never mind, I'll carry on. Said that was sexist. So she put it on Twitter, the outrage factory, and of course, two other people went, yes, you're right. You know, some other ladies with hairy top lips. But then a couple of other people got on board, and then journalists whose job seems to be trolling Twitter looking for outraged lunatics wrote a story about it. By the end of the day, 10,000 people thought it was outrageous. You know, so we're manufacturing outrage constantly.
Manufacturing, we're manufacturing like groups really that are offended by things because it's like you said, Twitter magnifies it.
Yeah, and keeps them together. Like Facebook's even worse because Facebook makes sure you only see the stuff you want to see so that you remain happy with people that affirm your beliefs, don't challenge you, block them, be safe.
What fun is that? Like, I love, and I know you do too, I know a lot of people, I love the argument, I love the debate, I love the exchange of ideas, and I'm open to anything, and we'll find out in a minute, because actually, and this actually is a good segue over to it, is one thing that I totally disagree with you on, I found out that you agree with, is national health care. And not that this is a big issue right now or anything, but I mean, I think that there's a lot of reasons national health care are good, but I'm open to it. If you can convince, like, tell me why it's a good thing.
Now, ours isn't the perfect system, though. Ours isn't perfect. All right, it's a million miles from perfect.
Well,
however,
okay, go ahead.
I'll explain it to you because I'm a capitalist.
Well, then you should be against it.
Nationalized healthcare and the right to an education are an investment in our nations. A healthier, more intelligent population will be more productive over their lifetime, probably be happier. There will always be those that can't ascend and aspire, even if we sell them the dream. Hey, you can do anything. Not everyone can do anything.
Right.
People will find their level, but a healthier, less stressed, better educated population will generate more wealth, more opportunity. You know, if they know, and we're talking perfect world scenario, if they know they won't be financially penalized for getting cancer. And I know if you've got insurance, but you remember Icky Jim on Live Leak?
Yeah, I do.
Remember Icky?
Yeah.
He had insurance. And because they decided it wasn't enough, he died a slow and painful death.
Yeah.
Now, over here in the UK, you can be told you can't have certain drugs because they're too expensive. So I'm not selling the idea that we're somehow better.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, nationalized healthcare done well, like some European nations have managed it, is a massive investment in the country. It's not a drain, it's a cost investment. And I think that's the way we need to look at it. Healthier, more intelligent population, more productive, more profitable.
Well,
and that's the way I see these things.
Okay, well, I think that it sounds good in theory. I mean, I want all sick people to get help, the help they need. I don't want to see anybody suffer or die at all. But I think that the road to getting to that point where nobody has to suffer and everybody can get their health care is through, you know, basically a free market healthcare, like what we have here in the U.S. I know that there are people who are not getting what they need. Okay, and I understand that.
But you can't have a perfect free market, though, can you? Because that leans corporations, and there's no getting around this. Corporations without regulation are psychopathic by nature.
Maybe.
And that doesn't mean they're evil. It means corporations are not empathetic. They have one goal, which is a return for shareholders.
Right. And
that's
that
all
goal. That goal, right, you're right. I think you're right about that. And that goal in and of itself is what drives innovation, which...
It also drives corner cutting.
Well, perhaps, but, you know...
It does, because you need regulation. And if you've got regulation, all of a sudden it's socialism. Unfettered capitalism doesn't work any better than socialism. You need some governance. You need some regulation. Can you imagine a world without building regulations? Well, of course you can. Go on Live Leak and watch some China videos.
Right.
Okay?
Oh, yeah,
that's what happens.
Right, yeah.
That's what happens. So it's finding a balance. I'm not averse to private elements in healthcare, but I think we need a balance. I think perhaps in your system, the middleman, the insurance companies are gouging. Some of the medicine companies, I know it's ridiculously expensive to bring medicine to market, but even then they're taking the piss. Right. But to have good governance and good regulation means good government that isn't affected by lobbyists. But lobbyists are tied to the free market, but lobbyists are actually what kill us.
Well, tell me this, okay? So in America, so as far as healthcare innovation goes, breakthroughs in medicine and technology, almost exclusively, pretty much exclusively come from the U.S. Like nowhere else.
100%.
Right, and
no, I mean Graham's had this discussion. You're way ahead.
Right.
Way
but
ahead. I
why
think there's
is
only
that?
Israel that's up there with you.
Right, correct.
But
let me
here's
ask
the
you, hold on,
problem.
real
Yeah,
quick,
but here's
real
the
quick.
problem.
Okay, go ahead.
This is the problem. There's no denying it. You're a million miles ahead on that stuff, and it's brilliant. But if you can't afford it, you're fucked.
Right. Maybe now you can't afford it, but let's think down the road. And so what happens once the US goes nationalized? Who's going to be doing the innovations? Are we going to then have a world of basically medical mediocrity where we basically stagnate in this No,
spot? Because that's assuming that nationalized healthcare has never achieved anything. It's also a matter of scale to consider. There are plenty of medical innovations from the UK, but we only have 60 million people. You have 300 million people. I'm not saying the US can't shift to the same system we have. Even politically, it won't work. But through proper regulation, and I mean real regulation of your insurance companies and your medical companies, they can't be allowed to be free market rule, because free market rule will kill lots of people. You need strong regulation, but for that you need good governance. And like I say, the main problem you guys have there, and we have it here, but in America it's rampant, is lobbying.
Yeah.
And, the lobbyists are what will kill you. The lobbyists are why they're trying to suppress vaping over there, despite actual, the British College of Physicians, which are world renowned, not just because I'm British, they just are. I've said it's much safer than smoking.
Right.
Much safer.
I agree.
End of. However, lobbyists to the EU have seen a crackdown on it, so it's been made very difficult to keep the business operating. Lobbyists in the US are not that far away from getting it basically banned altogether.
Yeah.
Tobacco lobbyists and people like that. So lobbying is the problem. This is utopian vision, it wouldn't bother me about healthcare company, about insurance. However, it's funded. As long as there was always, you have Medicare and Medicaid, is it?
Correct.
Everyone can get something, and it could be distributed more effectively with good regulation, good governance, but we need to get rid of the lobbyists, and that's not just for health, it's for everything else.
Well, the good governance part is I think you may be right about that, but here's the problem is that I can't think of a goddamn thing that the government does very well over here in America.
No,
yeah, good.
I've often said, sorry to interrupt, because I just love talking. I don't often get to talk about this with an American, but the size of the US means you would always need a federal government, but I think there should be more state control under that because of just the size and there's such a different makeup across America of people. So it would need a very different approach. But the first thing I would suggest is make lobbying illegal. Make it illegal. That would be the simplest thing any government could do to improve their government tenfold. Tenfold. Pay your politicians properly. Make lobbying illegal because it's bribery. That's all it is. One way or another. Make it illegal so that the bigger companies don't get their own way. That's the first step for me, because we always hear it, don't we? Like, net neutrality. Okay, now that's been sold as a communist idea, when really the only reason the Obama administration had to enshrine it was because it was being a problem. So, but now it's become an Obama thing, and it's been sold by that, and the main carriers are on that because they don't want net neutrality.
I would argue,
but without net neutrality, you're all screwed. We're all screwed.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, it's not. It's actually not up for debate. It's a fact. It is a pure fact. If you think about this, okay, set aside all your ideas of politics and everything else. Look at the telecoms carriers in the US, how they've carved the US up between them to ensure there can be no competition. And they can't. They have dominance in their market.
True. Yeah.
They've carved America up. I'm always told, well, if they did, away with net neutrality and started slow lanes, and a competition would spring up but it won't. It won't happen.
Well, it definitely won't happen with net neutrality. I mean, because
it doesn't have to happen with net neutrality. That's the point. All net neutrality means is they're not allowed to discriminate between packets of information. That's all it means.
But you're giving government power to regulate that.
No. See, this is where it's getting twisted. This is where, the only thing the government regulates, the only thing the government says under net neutrality is that you cannot discriminate against packets of information. That's all net neutrality is. Do you really think Tim Berners-Lee would want governments having interference in what was done on the internet? No. All net neutrality is throw away all the bullshit politics, all the crap you've heard from the news channels and the telecoms. It just means they cannot discriminate by packets of information, which means you, with your show, get the same priority as Facebook. Now, obviously, they'll have CDN networks and things like that,
right.
but they can't slow you and boost them.
Right.
That's what net neutrality is. It protects, and this is something people really need to get their head around because this is hugely important. It makes the internet a level playing field. It means that you could have financial success online. You could grow a business. You could have an idea tomorrow, get a backer, start small, grow as big as Facebook, in theory.
Right.
Once net neutrality is lost, that is taken away. The level playing field is gone. One guy on his own server cannot be a success because you'll be priced out.
Right. I mean, I've heard this
That's
argument,
all it is.
and you almost have me, but it's just like I keep getting back to the government's handling this, but I mean, I can't even make that argument because
look at the bill they put in.
Right.
But look at the bill they put in. It didn't say we have control. All it said was you cannot discriminate against packets of information.
Right. Well,
but you've been sold the idea that it's about oversight and control and they'll know what we're doing, and it's not. That just doesn't exist. Genuinely. Would I lie to you? Is this the face of a salesman? But it doesn't. It's just to say they cannot discriminate between packets of information. And the important part about this is a corporation is more likely to censor you than your government. And if you think that isn't true, tell me how your monetization went on.
Right. Okay. I can't. It's funny. I was talking to somebody earlier about this, about how basically people like me are, it's like a double-edged sword with us, because we want to stick to our principles and not regulate Facebook and YouTube and things like this, but yet by not doing that we're screwing ourselves because these people have a target on us and they're going to take us out. And so
think about this. If that can happen just on these platforms, what if your ISP decide they don't want to carry your media?
Right. And I think that is a possibility, actually.
Right now, they can't do it once it's out there. They can't find your packets of information and slow them and crush them. They can't. And what by that I mean is, yeah, people could refuse you a server. But if I shared your video with someone else, it'd go with the same speed as everyone else's information, wouldn't it? But they might be able to stop that. And only a corporation would do that. Governments have very bad habits, but they're shit at censorship. They're not good at it. The UK government's getting very good at it, but they'll never combat that side. But I would rather deal with a government than a corporation, because a corporation will choose what's financially most beneficial to them. And they might decide, as we have seen, for example, YouTube's decided, or even worse, Twitter, with the tall Tyrion Lannister that is Jack. We're not going to have the nasty people on anymore. And Facebook, we're not going to have the nasty people. Imagine that opened out to every ISP in the nation. None of us are going to carry Milo. It's not allowed on the internet. It's just not allowed. Just not allowed. That's it. Finished. Blocked everywhere. Net neutrality means that can't happen. So you could still be stopped on the big platforms. That's a separate issue. All net neutrality, like I say, it's really, you've got to throw away all the crap, the arguments from both sides. It just solely focuses on they can't discriminate about what goes through those wires. And if that's not something everyone should be fighting for, then I don't know what is. What could bring people better together than say no one can censor either side on the pipes, on the wire? And that's all that net neutrality does. That's all it does. Check the bill. It's the truth. That's why I said it's not up for debate, because the simple truth of it is that. But what's happened is it's been turned into a story. And people are selling it as one thing, as another, and piling on. There's been lobbying. The guy they put in charge there in the States, Ajit Pai, terrible human being, used to work for telecoms companies. Where do you think he's going to land on this? You know, didn't he used to be a lobbyist for one of them? So you've really got to check it out, dude, really, because honestly, it's hugely important. It's not a political argument. is something you should be as desperate for as the Second Amendment, where the government protect your right to have guns. Because that is protected, isn't it? Is he still there? Have I lost him? He's gone very quiet. I think I'm off the show. Well, I can't hear him.
He's still there. He's still broadcasting.
Oh, am I just giving a...
You're just having a monologue now. Yeah, you're just monologuing.
Yeah, I've just monologued him to death. I don't know if he can still hear me or anything else.
Dronetek's mic is off by the looks of things.
Right. It's gone very quiet then. I don't know if we're still on his show. If we are, hi.
Yeah, you're still on. We're still on.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, I can now. Yeah, you just went away for a bit.
God, you know what? I gotta stop. I use this virtual mixer, and I gotta stop. It sucks. It keeps doing this shit to me.
Which one do you use?
It's called Voice Meter.
Oh, I've always found that pretty cool.
Yeah, it keeps doing. I constantly have to restart it, and it will work for huge long periods of time, and then just stop working like it has right now at the worst of times. So,
and there was me filibustering.
Yeah, I kept trying to get in, and everyone's like, "Dronetek, stand up for yourself." It's like I'm trying to talk, but honestly, I gotta say, you actually have at least made me, because I'm not as educated on net neutrality as I should be. I really should be, but we're gonna have this talk again because I want to come more prepared.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know we were going to talk about that, but
I'm not here to win on an idea. You know, everyone's free to disagree, but I think this is one topic we should all push the politics aside and focus on how important a level playing field is for everybody. The platforms are a different story. Never confuse the net neutrality argument with what people are trying to do with Twitter and Facebook and things like that. Because they're two very, very different issues.
I think there's a good argument to be made there, though, what you were talking about, just the, trust, because I've always put trust in the free market and corporations, honestly, over government, because I don't trust either, but I always put corporations above government, only because the free market should take care of that sort of thing. But it's not, you're right. Like, YouTube's a great example. They're censoring, Facebook
the free market works as well as communism works. You need certain elements of everything. You know, we said before, most people exist on a political spectrum. I think it's the same. Unfettered anything never ends well because of human beings. Right. The idea of free market is beautiful. Human beings. Communism, just as a theory, it's not something I'd like to live, but the theory of it is kind of a beautiful thing. Everyone working together and, all that doesn't work because people. Although, to be honest, you're not allowed to be aspirational under that system terribly either, but people see a theory and think, I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
But never start to think that some real horrible, greedy bastard's going to be further up the food chain than you are. And that's just the way it works. So we have governments we can't trust, corporations we can't trust, and we have to hope that somehow the battle between them results in something we can cope with and work with. And I think that's where we're at. That's why I think we should ban lobbying. But there we go.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to really happen.
No, I don't, but it would be wonderful.
Yeah.
It would be wonderful. Dude, I'm so sorry. I've got to go.
I know. I was trying to get in there to give you an out so you could get to your show, but everybody.
I couldn't. Once I start, I can't stop.
Yes. I'm probably going to end this stream early because none of my other people are answering me, so I don't know if I can bring the bells on. But thank you, Hayden, for finally coming on, bringing on Graham and everything else. Everybody. Who I think everybody here has probably heard a trigger warning by now, but if you haven't, head on over there, check them out. They have a great show. They're funny. He's knowledgeable, as you can see, and I recommend everybody check it out. And Hayden, thank you so much for coming on. Finally,
thanks for having me on, dude. I genuinely appreciate it. I hope we do it again soon. Take care.
We will. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Later. So yes, folks. I was supposed to have Robert on and to talk about everything going on with Trump now, and there he is. He's here. Look at that. There's Robert.
I'm still in traffic. There's a wreck. I really enjoyed listening to you both, though. I thought it was
nice. Yeah, I did. I had no idea that my mic had gone out. I swear, it doesn't matter how many times I go through and I check all the settings. I check everything. It doesn't matter. something always goes wrong. And this is why I need more than just me doing this. I need like somebody sitting here doing all this. But Robert, welcome, my friend. How you doing, buddy?
I'm driving, so if I have to cut out, I'm sorry, but this traffic's ridiculous. But yeah, it was a great conversation. I think that I come at things from kind of the exact opposite perspective as him, where I think it's all well and good to say, oh, we need things from both the left and the right, and we need communism, we need free markets. And there is some truth in that you can't be an extremist on any side of the equation. But certainly less government intervention is almost always better, as we can see repeat itself throughout history over and over.
Right.
So
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So, like, for example, with the healthcare debate, like, people confuse healthcare with health. And so he says, well, don't we want a more intelligent, healthy population? Well, of course, we all want that. The question is, what's the best method to get there? And he kind of gives the reasons why it wouldn't work in the United States, where he talks about scale. Well, that's absolutely true. We're talking about 300 million people. We have no idea within 20 million people how many illegals we have in this country. So how are we going to give health care to all these people when we have every year a fewer and fewer percentage of people that are paying into the taxes? At some point, with open borders and with free health care for everyone, we're only a decade or two away from going completely bankrupt.
Yeah, that's a system that's guaranteed to fail. And something else I didn't get a chance to bring up. I wanted to bring it up, but my mic, I tried a couple times, my mic wasn't working. But you know, their national health care kind of ties into their national defense, and that they don't have to spend much on national defense. Why? Because the United States is spending money hand over fist, and they know that no matter what happens, we'll be there to back them up. Because attacking, England is like attacking the U.S., so they don't have to spend nearly as much on R&D or any of that. None of these European countries do, and so they have some extra money to put into these national healthcare, and they're not the ones dumping money into R&D for healthcare either. And I wish I had a chance to bring this up, but it kind of reminds me of a kid. Oh, SJG's here too. Cool.
I was trying to sneak in.
What's up, buddy? But it kind of reminds me of a teenager living in his parents' basement till he's 26. It's like, of course he's got extra money. He doesn't have to pay for bills or anything. That's sort of what we're dealing with here with these other countries. And I wonder if America wasn't footing the bill for all the innovation, medical innovation, and wasn't footing the bill for all the military defense, would these countries really be able to keep their national healthcare systems going? I don't know. I doubt it.
Yeah, and another thing is, look, this isn't a racial argument, but it's easier to have nationalized healthcare in populations that are homogenous because they all have similar values. They're coming from similar areas. They have similar health problems. The United States is, for better or worse, one of the most diverse countries in the history of the world. It has a massive population. Just state to state, they're massively different. And so when you talk about a one-size-all, approach to this, it's just not going to work. There's going to be so many problems. And inevitably, you'll start to see problems like we see in areas like San Francisco, where there'll be lack of, it doesn't matter how much your healthcare costs if you literally can't receive access to it. And that would be the problem. We see where people in areas where free healthcare is being offered, emergency rooms are being used just for little things like colds and things like that. So if you have a serious procedure, you can't get in. And don't get me wrong, our healthcare system, it's definitely a worthwhile conversation. But I don't think it's as simple as he would have you believe that, it's an investment in the future. Well, no, not. I could make the
not necessarily.
Right. I can make the same argument with the war on poverty. Oh, we have to have the war on poverty. It's an investment in the future. Well, no, actually, it just cripplingly hurt inner cities for 50 years. That was the exact same argument, though. Oh, this isn't. Yeah, we're spending this money. If you're against this, then you're against, the health of inner cities and minority populations. No, that's not true at all. I'm for the health of those populations, which is why I'm against this wasteful spending that's helping, ruin those communities.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, everything you just said. Yeah, exactly.
He makes a good point, and I'm with you. I don't have the answer. And I think healthcare is a serious enough problem that we need to hear people from all sides of the equation, certainly. So I'm not mortified that someone suggests universal healthcare. It's just, all estimates say that it's going to cost upwards of $20 trillion. When you start talking about a policy costing $20-30 trillion in the span of 10 years, you have to have serious conversations where that money comes from. And the problem is everyone who's advocating these policies like Bernie, they just say, well, it pays for itself.
Right.
Well, that's garbage. That's garbage. It doesn't pay for itself.
Right. You know, and I hate how they make it sound like anybody who's against this stuff is somehow against people or people getting health care. I want everybody to get health care. Look, you're talking to a Trekkie, okay? I'm a science nerd. I grew up watching Star Trek. I have that same dream of this utopia where everybody can do what they love and nobody has to worry about. We all want that, but look, it's not reality. Like, none of these people who are advocating for these things are thinking about any of this stuff that we're talking about, or at least they're not talking about it in public, like Bernie or any of these people. They don't talk about any of this stuff. I don't get it.
It's all based on emotion. It's all based on just this emotion.
It's virtue signaling.
It is. It's an emotive. It's just this emotive concept of like, we care and we're going to show you how much we care because everyone should have health care. Well, I don't. Part of the thing I don't get is, and maybe you guys already touched on this, but the VA with 9 million people can't get it right. Right? The VA can't get it right. You know, the Medicare and Medicaid for all, let's say we combine them all, that's roughly 50 million-ish, 60 million-ish. That doesn't work worth a crap. And then you have like the people on the left saying Alexander AOC saying Medicare and Medicaid is great, you know, and it works so awesome. No, it's horrible. And then again, like Robert was saying, if you go to Europe and you try to get service in Europe, you try to get, you know, my sister lived in the UK for over a year, and she said it was like 3 months out on an appointment, and the clinics were always crowded and run down. It's not going to work like that. And I agree also with what you guys are saying is, we need to figure out the healthcare system should definitely be reformed. I can't believe it costs $1,000 to run one stupid simple test. But how much, and I don't know, so I'm speaking out of ignorance here, but how much of that cost is inflated by the government regulation and interference and these private, or not private healthcare, but how much of that is inflated costs due to regulations that if we let the free market work more in the hospital, those costs would correct themselves. And I don't know, but I'm suspicious they would.
Right. Well, a lot of it is from, you know, just from people getting sued, doctors getting sued, and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that healthcare costs so much, but those both are reasons. Those are both big reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. Like, one of the things that Trump, that you've heard Trump talk about, I don't know why there isn't a bigger push.
Hey, guys, real quick, talk between yourselves for a minute. I need to run away AFK a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll probably have to head out soon, too. Now it's starting to rain on my drive here. But one of the things that you've heard talked about that I think we need to seriously look at is you should make a law that says that all hospitals and everything have to advertise their prices for every procedure and every item that you're getting. That way you would be shocked to find out that your IV drip bag that costs $2 to make is actually charged you for $500. That sort of inflation's only possible because we have insurance in the first place and because the government got involved in it. And remember, what English leftists was saying there was, well, we need a compromise. You don't want totally state-ran stuff and you don't want totally free markets. But the problem is that's what Obamacare was. So we had Michael Moore and a bunch of people come out and correctly say, hey, there's a bunch of problems with the healthcare industry. They're right about the problem. So what was the solution? They're like, well, these health insurers are corrupt. And so Obama says, I know, we'll mandate that everybody has to pay those corrupt people for their product. And so predictably, what happens? Well, prices go up because now you have to buy the corrupt product. And as long as your insurance only goes up $5 a month, you don't notice that when you went to the hospital that time, you were billed like $4,000 for $200 worth of stuff because it just goes into the big pool and we all collectively, through our insurance premiums, pay that. That's why I actually advocate systems of starting to have like actual paying through cash and things like that, getting away from an insurance system, because I think that insurance makes it more complicated and messy and allows these gross overcharges to occur. It's not the doctors getting rich. It's actually like these insurance companies, the large corporate hospitals and things like that. The person actually working on you, they're struggling under the system just like me and you.
And hey, I'm back, and real quick, I just want to jump in. Another thing I meant to talk about while Hayden was here, because we were talking about, you know, immigration, illegal immigration, and healthcare. But did you guys see where Biden actually said that we have an obligation to give illegals healthcare? Here, check this out, real quick.
No, I didn't hear that.
I'm running the video right now.
In our law should be entitled to federal benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, for example.
Look, I think that anyone who is in a situation where they're in need of health care, regardless of whether they're documented or undocumented, we have an obligation to see that they're cared for. That's why I think.
So yeah, Biden said we have an obligation to provide health care to people who are illegally in this country. What the hell? Like how can you have a healthcare system like that?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
why
exactly.
We have to be careful before we give them this power, because they always lie to us. These statists, the globalists, the people that want big government, they always lie.
Yeah.
And just like we were talking with net neutrality, like, I'm sorry, I just disagree with what he said. Well, governments don't censor. That's absolute garbage. He's right that these tech companies are censoring, but a lot of it's at the behest of governments. Remember the whole chant of the government's having meetings? We need to censor fake news. Russian trolls spent $50,000, and now we need to have meetings to force social media companies to censor things. If we give the government the power with net neutrality to say, we are saying this is what private companies have to offer as a service to people, whether it be bandwidth or what, that's just one step in the door for the government to then be able to say the next thing. Oh, and we don't want bandwidth to go to Alex Jones, and we don't want bandwidth to go to Dronetek.
Right.
Exactly.
That are radicalizing people.
Right,
And
depending
now
on who's in
that would
power.
happen.
And don't you love how they call it net neutrality? They label it they label it with this label that makes you think like, oh no, net neutrality. I want net neutrality. That means everyone's neutral. But it's the exact opposite of what it actually means.
Right, and they do that a lot. That's another reason I was trying to explain to Hayden that why I'm suspicious. It's like, again, with these word games, always with the word games. And yeah, when it comes down to it, corporations are not to be trusted. Government is not to be trusted. But when it comes down to it, I feel like ultimately we have more recourse with the corporation than we do the government. Somehow we can form some sort of a movement to drop a company and move to something else. Something can be done there. But when you're talking about the government, they have they don't have any consumer base or anything. Like they have endless money. It doesn't matter.
There's no boycotting. I mean, you can't just go out and not buy the product anymore to boycott the company.
Right.
And
they could just tax more or something.
It's like what Robert's talked about before too. Did Robert drop out? I think he did.
No, I think
he dropped out.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see him, but
he'll be back.
But it's similar to what like Jordan Peterson says all the time too. It's like there's no virtuous person that's going to be able to run this system of socialized socialism, anything, right? Whether we're talking about Medicare or medical or just the straight up socialistic government, there's nobody virtuous in any of those, and they're all corruptible, and they're all going to, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So there's no good system that's going to run that unless you have the ability to speak with your dollars. And I will give the fact that that's why when you have these huge monopoly companies that are taking over everything, they effectively become insurmountable. And so in some cases, that's why I do agree with breaking up a company when it gets too big. I'm not completely opposed to that. Like when it becomes too much, you know what I'm saying? Too big to fail. I don't think that. I don't think that that's. But I think
you actually just kind of uncovered a good point there. About the money in corporations, all right? A lot of corporations require us to spend money on them. That's kind of a big difference with like Facebook and YouTube and these. It's interesting because they're beholden to the advertisers, not us. We're not spending money,
Right.
And so they're doing what if the advertisers want conservatives to be censored and they don't want to spend money on conservative ads, well, that's not really even up to YouTube. You know what I mean? So. What do you do in that case? Then I guess you do have some recourse there because you can boycott the companies that are refusing to sell their ads. Or
you can just jump up. Then and they would love this. I was going to say, or you could quit using Facebook. But then they would do their job for them. They'd probably love the fact if we did that.
Right. I mean,
all the conservatives jumped off.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's like. It's a rock and a hard place. It's hard to judge on it because people like us do not want to regulate. We don't want the government regulating private companies. I don't want that because I know that can come back on us. This is something Democrats and liberals, left-wingers don't seem to do a lot. They don't have a lot of foresight. They're all about changing rules when it suits them, but then when that rule comes back to bite them, suddenly they want to change it back.
But see, here's where I say on that is that, and I've said it. I don't agree with company or with government getting involved in private companies 99% of the time. But like with Google, with Twitter, with YouTube, with these community spaces, again, this is the new public square. So I kind of feel like the rule that should be applied to them is the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which they're trying to take down. But until they take that down, that's how these companies they should be beholden to free speech as defined by the Constitution.
Right, I agree. And you know what? Tim Pool brought up this point, when he was interviewed on Joe Rogan, that foreign countries can use this censorship and stuff that Facebook's using against us in our voting. It allows foreign countries to interfere in our elections more. Like the power that these tech companies have to do this, they don't realize it, but they could be helping our foreign adversaries this whole time anyway. So that's another reason why this doesn't make any sense to me. But
it's a very I gotta go after this, but it's a very complicated question. One of the you could have an hour-long conversation, but one of the things I don't understand why isn't talked about more is fine. Let's not talk about government censoring Google or Facebook or whatever. It is all but shown by internal documents from these companies at this point that they are trying to censor conservatives and push the Democrat agenda. So why aren't they beholden to to election laws saying that this is donations in kind to Democrats? Shouldn't they be held to that standard? And if that's the case, we're talking billions of dollars of donations to the Democratic Party, which means as political entities, they're now under those laws regarding election donations, and that would be able to cut a lot of this out, I think.
Hey, I think that's a great idea, and guys, we got to talk more. I love having you guys on. You two, you're like my two favorite people to have on here, and we spent a lot of time with Hayden there, but I'm actually getting ready to go on trigger warning, so I'm going to have to end this stream here.
Cool.
Yeah, but I do appreciate you guys. Both of you guys came in from your cars. That's dedication. I really, really appreciate it. You guys are the best, and I will have you on every show if you'll come on. So
I would love it. And hey, you know what? Next time we got it before it's over. Maybe we do another one in a couple days. We got to talk. You guys maybe talked about Barr, William, or the.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to. Yeah, I wanted to talk to Rob about that.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Barr thing because this is like insanity right now, and it's like I got some thoughts on it I want to share.
Well, maybe Robert, are you gonna do a stream later or something?
I will tomorrow. I'm
okay.
Gonna be doing I'll get in touch with you after this. When I get home tonight, I got stuff to do, and then I work at 3:00 tomorrow. So probably from 10 to 2, I'll be doing a live stream.
Okay, well,
I'll be working.
Maybe I'll jump in there. Maybe we can both talk about it, or I'll just watch because I don't have a ton to say on it because I'm intrigued by the entire thing, but it's so freaking hard to follow. It's so hard to follow everything, and I'm not a judge, and I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about the law, so I don't really want to comment a whole lot on it usually, but
yeah.
But
I just comment on it anyways, even if I'm wrong. I just tell people what I think.
I do too.
I'm just like, this is some bullshit, and I'm going to sorry, Cindy, and I'm just going to tell you what I think, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
So anyway.
All right, guys. Well, thank you as usual.
We'll see you.
Yep. Next
Peace
time.
out, guys.
Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays.
All right. Later, dude.
All right, guys. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Go over to Robert's channel, subscribe. Go over to SJG's channel, subscribe. Go over to Trigger Warning. They're about to start. As soon as you're done watching this, go over to Trigger Warning TV. Trigger Warning TV. If you just search for Trigger Warning, you're just going to get some sort of suicide hotline. So Trigger Warning TV and check their show out. Thanks. Catch y'all later.